Aloha, and welcome to Books, Books, Books. I'm your host, Mihaela Stoops, and today we're talking about the future of books with Chat GPT-4. My guest today is David Katz. David is the director and producer of Hawaii Writers Conference. David, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's an interesting topic, and I'm always happy to talk about things related to books.
Wonderful. And what I would like to start with is actually getting some information from you about Hawaii Writers Conference. What is it? Who's attending? Why are people attending it?
Great, thank you. It is, in many people's opinion, the premier writing and publishing event in the United States. It's grown over the last 9 years. And I think really the secret of our success is that people want to come to Kauai. So we, in the beginning, like around 2014, I think we started it. And we wondered, could we get any authors to come? And now it's like they all want to come because their friends have come. They tell them how beautiful it is, what a good time they had. And as a result, we're fortunate to be able to attract really the most prominent writers and literary agents and publishers in the country. We have two main criteria for how we select the faculty. One is, of course, they have to be excellent at their craft. They have to be excellent writers and well recognized as such. But more than that, they have to be also outstanding teachers. And those two things often don't go together. I'd say more often than not, they don't go together, because many writers, they might be brilliantly creative, but if you put them in front of a group of 100 people, they kind of don't know what to say. So we find authors who have been vetted by their peers as being not only great writers, but really great, caring, skillful teachers as well. Every year, it's at the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay. It's at the Royal Sonesta Kauai Resort, which was always previously known as the Kauai Marriott Resort, changed ownership during the pandemic. And it's a perfect place for us. It's right on the beach. It's a lovely spot. And they have a great selection of kind of indoor, outdoor meeting spaces for our meetings and for our meals. Lovely rooms, and I'd say moderately priced, especially for us because we negotiated extremely deeply discounted room rates for our attendees.
Thank you for this information. And we do have a website, and I believe that is hawaiiwritersconference.com. So for anybody that wants more information, they could go there and check out the guest speakers and the schedule and so on. I'm going to ask you, do you think that the attendees to this next session, which is the 10th session of Hawaii Writers Conference, will the attendees talk about artificial intelligence and chatbots and how it's going to affect their business and their writing skills and what books they may be writing?
Certainly they will. Everybody's talking about it all of a sudden. When Chat GPT was released, most people were really unaware of the area and unaware how much it had advanced, except for people in that industry, the artificial intelligence industry, if you want to call it such, who had known that this was coming for 4 or 5 years at least. So now all of a sudden, Chat GPT is out, and it's become the fastest growing app ever by far. It has hundreds of millions of users already in just a month or two.
And you've tried it yourself, right? So
Oh yes.
What was your experience? How do you think it's going to change the world of books and the world of writing and copy editing and publishing and so on?
Well, I would say that in its current state, it's extremely great at writing nonfiction, where you're looking for factual, clear writing about a specific topic. For example, for some reason or other, I was wondering about the question, did all life on Earth begin just at one time in one place in one event? It seems like maybe it did because every living thing shares DNA, which is a very complex, very specific molecule. So could that have been created twice? I asked Chat GPT this question, and it gave me an answer as well thought out, as well written, as thoroughly sourced as I would expect from a professor of biology. It was just brilliantly clear, authoritative, knowledgeable, factual. I could ask it follow-up questions like, are you sure about this or about that? And it would say, oh, yes, because according to this article by so-and-so, he brings out these 2 points. So it's excellent. Now,
but did it bother you that it was produced by a machine and not a person?
I was more amazed than bothered. It does this instantly. The report that it generated in less than 1 minute, like a full page at least. You would have expected someone to have labored over for several hours to include all of the references that it included. So it's pretty astounding. But then, actually, the first thing I tried to do was I asked it some questions requesting a piece of fiction. And I said, could you write me the first 1,000 words of a short story set on Kauai, which has the following plot elements? There is greedy developers who are seeking to develop land which is hotly contested. There are endangered native Hawaiian people, and there are threatened species. There are Hawaiian kahunas who are shedding wisdom on the whole thing. There are activists who are demonstrating. And then there is a death, which may have been a murder or may have been accidental. Well, I mean, in about 30 seconds, it starts, well, less than 30 seconds. In about 5 seconds, it starts typing full speed, this story. And it's pretty darn good. And it includes all the plot elements that I requested. But it was not well written as fiction. So then I came back to it and said, well, could you improve it by following the dictum, show but don't tell? And could you add more dialogue? Instantly, there it comes. The things which had been told before are now illustrated by action and dialogue.
So if you were a book editor and you had to deal with one of your writers and you told your writer, you know, you got to include more dialogue, or you need to do this whole exchange would have taken weeks, months, who knows how long, right?
Here it took seconds.
So if AI could play the role of editing, should we conclude that editors will disappear?
Well, when it comes to nonfiction, if I were in that line of work, I would be quite concerned, because I can give it a piece of nonfiction and I can ask it to improve it, and it will do so immediately and well. When it comes to fiction, it's not yet to that point, because fiction needs to have that spark, that ineffable quality that charms you, you know, and the characters need to have such life about them that you come to love them and care about them, worry, are they going to achieve their goals and so on. the Chat GPT so far did not know, I thought, how to do that. However, this is just Chat GPT 3.5 that I was working on. Now there's Chat GPT-4, which has been trained on 10 times as many bits of data as its predecessor. And version 5, I understand, is in the works and is going to be released by the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if much
And
sooner
they'll get better.
it's going to get better really fast. And you can also ask it to change the style. I said, well, can you give this to me in iambic pentameter, as though it were written by Shakespeare? There it comes instantly. It's actually iambic pentameter. I said, oh, can you write it in German? Instantly, there it is. Can you write it in Chinese? No problem. Chinese characters.
Now, I do have to ask this. Do you speak German or Chinese?
I speak German, but not Chinese.
Okay. Did you check the translation? Did that seem pretty good?
It was quite good. I'm not fluent in German enough to know the nuances of it, but it seemed fine to me. Chinese, I couldn't tell.
Because I know most translation programs are still lagging behind because they can't quite capture those nuances.
That's true. I would suspect that some of the nuances might have been lacking here, but they're working on that. They're working on that. And the goal, really, of everybody that's working on artificial intelligence is to create a program, a device that will pass the Turing test. The Turing test, something that was hypothesized by, I think, Alan Turing, one of the early pioneers of computing. And he predicted that sometime in the future, computers would be so advanced that you could communicate with one and you could not tell that you were not communicating with a human being. So everyone's goal in the field is to make their program so human-like that even the most discerning person could converse with it for hours about any topic and could not tell that they're talking with a computer rather than with a human being.
So as somebody that loves book clubs and goes to book clubs, it seems to me that I don't know, in 10 years from now, or maybe sooner, my book clubs may be part bots, part real people. And I might still enjoy it.
It may happen. It may happen. And, you know, the desire that we all have for meaning, for sharing meaning with other humans, that's not going to ever go away. But how artificial intelligence integrates with that, hopefully serves it rather than replaces the human element of it. How that happens is anyone's guess. I do think that it's going to play a huge role and much bigger role than people are aware of as it continues to advance. And at the rate at which it's coming on, it's not a matter of decades, it's a matter of years or even months before it really transforms things. And not just literature, but everything, every field of human endeavor.
I was listening to a report earlier today about the fact that I believe it's a Kuwaiti TV station that launched an artificial intelligence powered newscaster.
Yes.
And they're actually not the first. The Chinese did it a few years back because, of course, they want to control the narrative and they want to be able to continue the censorship. And they were stating that there are estimates to the effect that approximately 300 million jobs worldwide will be lost to artificial intelligence.
Well, I think nearly all jobs are going to be impacted. And it's a question of, you know, well, some will be lost altogether. I mean, for example, suppose I wanted an architect to design a house. I could go to the architect, I could show him the site, I could take him around and talk to him for months. Or I could upload a few photographs of the site to AI architect.com and say, I want a 3-bedroom house of 2,000 square feet in the style of this specific architect, and I want it to have these features. I want it to have windows that face to the south. I want it to enter from the east. I want to have landscaping around it here and there. And instantly, it would produce a rendering. And it would say, do you want to walk around inside your house? You could do it in 3D immediately. And you might say then, well, could you make the guest room a little bit bigger and have a bigger window in the second bathroom? Instantly, there it is. And when you're satisfied, and you could say, let's see how it's going to look with some furniture in it. What style furniture would you want? Well, I think I would like, I don't know, retro 50s, modern furniture. There it is, And when you're satisfied, you say, okay, can you make me the working drawings? In about 10 seconds, there would be the working drawings. And it would say, would you like me to send them to my counterpart bot at the planning department for your building permit? It would do it.
Good luck in the permitting process, though.
Good luck in the permitting process, but the county is going to realize that, they don't have to pay somebody to do that. They could have a bot that works 24 hours a day and doesn't cost them all that much. And that's going to be what brings it on fast, is that when you have something that does the job way cheaper and way better, naturally you have to take that because your competitors are going to. And they'll outcompete you every way if you don't. So it's going to come on much faster than people realize. But it's also an extremely powerful and useful tool for almost everything. So
we have books now that we still read in print, right? We read books on tablets. Many people like to listen to books, and I assume that that's another job that will be affected. You could have AI read the book and not, make actors do it and take a long time and pause for water breaks and so on. But what I'm trying to figure out here is what does the writer of the future looks like?
I think that things are going to be so different, it's hard to comprehend. It'll be like if there was someone who had never seen a car before, and they're standing on some dirt road, and in the distance they see headlights. And they look at it and say, oh, what is that? Is it a cow with big eyes? I don't know what it is. I better stand here and keep looking. Pretty soon, the car approaches, and if they don't get out of the road, it'll run them over. They've never seen one before. Now, they have choices. They can just stand there in puzzlement until the car runs them over, or they can go get a car and learn how to drive one. And I think that's really what we need to do now, is think about, and right away, think about, okay, in my particular life situation, how can I use this to my advantage, rather than just standing back and criticizing and saying, oh, that'll never happen. Because then I would be like the guy that said, well, this car, that's kind of a cute novelty, but it's never going to replace horses. People have been riding horses for, millennia. You think this newfangled thing is going to replace the emotional connection we have with horses? It's never going to happen. Well,
that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, within a short period of time, cars took over and horses were recreational. However, from what I understand, there are as many horses in the United States now as ever there were. And people just have them in their lives in different ways because people love horses. So like that, I think people love books. They love writing and reading. And I think there will always be an important role for writing and reading. But I think artificial intelligence is going to impact it much more drastically than the great majority of people are aware.
Do you think that the writers' conference may change format, may change topics, may change type of attendees?
I think a big topic that a lot of people are going to be interested in is how can I use artificial intelligence to help my writing process? And
well, one thing that occurred to me, or as a reader, I've always, you're in a story and you could see a certain character is at the crossroads and they could choose to do A or B. And obviously the writer chooses for you, let's say, option A, but you wonder, well, if that character chose the B option, where would that story have gone? And I wonder if artificial intelligence not only will be able to guide the writer to say, that might be a better flow of the story, or because, 75% of people like a happy ending, or, providing the stats for the writer to make that kind of decision.
it can absolutely do that already. Already it can do that. I could say to Chat GPT-4, do you know The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway? It says, yes, of course, I know every word of it. I'd say, could you make me a version, of course, in Hemingway's style, in which it has a happy ending, and the two of them he recovers from his injury. The two of them get together and become lovers and live happily ever after. No problem. It'll do it.
Wow.
You won't be able to tell that Hemingway didn't write it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to try Chat GPT-4. I only tried the chat that Bing is offering, and I was actually looking for a summary of a fiction book, and it basically told me that I should go read the book. It was interesting.
Well, try Chat GPT-4. That's the most advanced, right? This week, maybe next week there'll be something more advanced.
Yeah, probably. I'm thinking maybe the reviews weren't there yet. Like it didn't have enough data to pull from, right? Enough information to pull from on.
Well, one limitation they have, although that's coming to an end pretty quickly, but one limitation that they had is that their information is not current. It's only up to about a year ago. But now they have access to the web through Wolfram Alpha. And that allows them to not only draw on their memory bank, but if their memory, it doesn't include what you want to know, it'll look it up online and it will find, up to the minute. So you can say, well, what did you think about the Orioles game today? I say, oh, it was amazing. Did you see Mountcastle hit 3 RBIs in the 7th inning or whatever?
Before we go, I have one more question for you, and that is, what are you reading right now?
I feel like I'd rather not say right now because I have such a responsibility to so many of the authors, and I don't want to feature any particular ones of them. But I would say that I think everybody should read Billy Collins' poetry. Billy Collins is probably the best known, best loved poet in the United States at this time, and he's coming to the Kauai Writers Conference and will be giving a reading, a master class on how to write poetry, and a luncheon by the beach.
Wow, this sounds very interesting. I say I will look into it, absolutely. And so thank you for the recommendation, David, and thank you for all the information you provided and for sharing your thoughts on what's coming to us.
Thanks, I enjoyed it, and it's very nice to chat with you.
Well, ahui ho.
Ahui ho.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.